So what we do, we open our VirtualBox. We know that this is our hypervisor. They call it also manager, VirtualBox manager, or also they call it, if you remember, a host, a virtual host. And it's a host because it's hosting the guests, which are the virtual machines. Okay? We set the file menu will allow us to interact and to do some setups with the manager or virtual host or the hypervisor itself. Okay? Wherever is for the particular machines could be accessed from the group menu, or when you open the machine, when you click on the machine itself, on the settings most of the time, or right click on the machine itself as well. So the particular instance is, you use the thing from here. Any questions up to this? Okay, so let's install our Windows 10. So first we need to do the management of this. So we need to prepare it. We said we click on the new button. We could do another way, click on machine, click new here, and so on and so forth. For now, we click new. The name, as we mentioned, it's free. It's important, just do not mimic another one. So Windows 10. And a machine folder by default, I've chosen here this one, if you remember, because I don't have enough space on my C. You see, I have the volume or C drive here, and it has only 90 gigabyte free, and volume D, which has only 42, but I already have most of the virtual machine here. And actually, I created the same folder, which by default, if you remember, guys, I told you yesterday, is on C drive in users where all the users ever logged in to the computer are on your username. In my case, that's my username, and here at the bottom, VirtualBox VMSs. I created some machines, that's why there are several there. But actually, it's not. I already moved to another place, and that's why now it's in D. So I'm going to open D, VirtualBox VMSs, and here all of my virtual machines. And we said when you create a virtual machine, first it's created of the folder, and afterwards the virtual machine itself will be created. So now I'm creating the one which is called Windows 10. Okay, it will be placed in the D, in my D drive. Today we're going to speak mostly about more about the file system in Windows and how we could do what is a volume and what is a partition, and how the letters affect the system itself. And basically that's what I've chosen. The type and the versions are very important. Okay, when I write down Windows 10, Win 10 like this, the system automatically recognizes that I would like to use Microsoft 10, Microsoft Windows and Windows 10 inside. But if it's something which is not recognizable, I always could click here and choose wherever I need, and afterwards the corresponding to it. In my case, 10 64-bit edition is perfect. And we said if you click on that version and you see only 32-bit versions, you need to go and see the guys in the IT, because that means something wrong with your computer as well. It's not wrong. Some features, virtualization particularly, is not on in your BIOS, so they need to do something to do it on. We're going to choose the memory size wherever we are given, which is 2048 megabyte, which is exactly 2 gigabytes. And we said if we would like to increase it or decrease it, multiply by half a gigabyte. It's very easy. If you go here on the scroller, click once and you see it's just increasing it with 512 megabyte or half gigabyte. In my case, that's okay. We're going to create the virtual hard disk now, although, as we said, we could use an existing one if we have it somewhere else. Let's say in my case, I have already some. I could choose them wherever they are. I could do add here, and I could go to C drive, wherever I just showed it to you that the original folder is in users, my username. And so if I go there and if I open VirtualBox, where you see I already have several machines, okay? If I choose one of them anyway, I could choose one of this one and I could open it right away, okay? I'm not gonna do this now, obviously, because I need this for other purposes, but I'm just showing you. If you have for the USB or if you put it on a different location, well, that's how you do it. So in my case, as I mentioned, I'm just going to create a hard disk, the virtual hard disk now. I'll do create. Last chance to change if I would like to change the location of my file. For me, the default one is okay. The 50 gigabyte we mentioned is the minimum you're supposed to have for Windows 10, and for Windows 2016 we're gonna install next, let's say the next week. So 50 is good point to check always, at least 50. Dynamically allocated, we set, you remember, we created it 50 gigabyte, only 2 megabytes has been created. That's why we choose dynamically. It will grow up to 50 dynamically. VDI, VHD, VMDK, we could choose anything of this, no problem. Especially if we're gonna work after this with this virtual machine in a different environment. We said VHD is for the hypervisor of Microsoft called Hyper-V, and VMDK is for the hypervisor of the VMware, ESXi, VMware Player, which is the free one, and the VMware Workstation, which is very nice for labs, which is unfortunately not a free one. Another one important, well-known, is the QCO here, the QEMU, which is the KVM, the free Linux virtual machine. So basically you could use in Linux if you create this machine right away in this hypervisor. And there are some more. So we choose the default one, which is for the VirtualBox for now. We are not going to play. And I mentioned also yesterday that there are some specialized programs which could convert between all of this or among all of these formats. Okay, so that's why we have here the extension VDI, which stands for Virtual Disk Image, VDI. That's what it is. Okay, so we do create, and we mention also, well, I don't want it here. You see, it has been added to the Win_system group for this one. Here it is, Win10. Now, what I want to do, basically, I want to put it in my own group. So I'm just gonna drag it outside. You see now it's appearing here on the outside of this group. I could close the group now, and I could right click on it, and I could create my own group, and I could say new group. It's okay. I'll leave it there. I'll move it just to be sure it's in the group itself, and you see new group just appear in my folder. So that's how it works, guys. It's folder within a folder, and it is creating some files. And I mentioned to you, these are kind of log files and some files which are for the settings and setups, which are not very important. You could do the settings separately on a separate machine. This is the important file. This 2 megabyte file, that's your virtual machine. Now you could move it and you could do whatever you want with it. So the next thing what we do is to do the settings. Well, we set here the advanced. We choose by directional. We said to share clipboard from our real machine to our virtual, both directions. We could copy and paste files, drag and drop the same thing into the description. Disk encryption we don't touch. Into the system, it's optional to the floppy to remove and to uncheck. We set about the green, orange, and the red side here. Well, that means how much you're gonna charge your machine. Now, by the way, if you would like to see how much resources your real machine is using, if you go on your taskbar, which in my case is on the top, yours is on the bottom, I guess, and you go somewhere on the empty space. For me, it's a little bit tough at the moment, but I found it. Right-click on it, and you do Task Manager. Now, because you're not administrator of the system, most probably you're going to be prompted to put the ETU10 user and the password for the guy. So basically, you do it, and basically you're gonna see something like this into beginning. So which programs are on? When you click on the more details, you're gonna see much more details for the applications, background processes, and stuff like that. You could see here the performance of the system, the application history, which were accessing, how much they were using of your system, what is the startup software which users are connecting to the machine at the moment. Some details additional, which that's an important thing, the process ID, PID, or the name of the user which is using the system. As you see, some of them are system processes. You see, these are system processes. Well, that's me who is using, but this is a system process. So this is something which I'm not in charge with, actually. Okay, it shows the CPU, memory, and some other interesting thing, and also all the services here. And actually, it says the status of the services, and also it describes what exactly the service is about. Okay, which is pretty pretty nice, and they're group by groups, as you see as well. Okay, so for me at the moment, if I go to the processes, you see I see 30, between 22 and 31% my CPU is loaded at the moment with everything what is open, plus 49%. So what's going on? So the 49% of memory which we're using at the moment, that's the random access memory. So everything what you see here, plus we don't see if you go to the services, as you see there are much more services. You see how many times I'm scrolling to the bottom. Okay, so basically the processes also, here it is. You see how many there are. So I don't see everything right away. But for me, it's important to see that I'm using 1/4 of my CPU, about half of my random access memory, almost 2%, 3%, which is nothing from my disk. And as you see, the network utilization is almost zero. And the GPU is the graphical, my graphical card. Okay, what is giving me actually the pictures, the graphical interface. So as you see, the memory, the RAM memory is heavily loaded. The only thing which is heavily loaded. So I need to monitor this eventually. Well, when I start this machine, another 2 GB will be added, 2 GB, I'm sorry, will be added here. So eventually this one will be up, as well as the CPU will be up, because a different CPU, even though virtualized, will appear there, will be added. So we're gonna see how it goes. I'm gonna leave it over there. Okay, so that's the way you could control your system to see what's going on. Okay, any questions? The next thing, the processor we don't touch, acceleration we don't touch. Here, wherever it says extended features, we leave it for now like that. Display, we said we would like to be to the end of the 128 megabyte is good. On the storage, we said that's the disk we just created. Once again, you see the virtual size 50 GB, but the actual size at the moment is 2 MB. That's why we chosen dynamically allocated, if you remember. And it says the location where it is. Okay, now I need to click on the CD. I'm clicking on the CD, and you see on the right side is changing the view. And I see this small CD with this small arrow here. I'll click on it, and I'll choose, well, it's already there because I've chosen it, but let me show you. I'll choose. And it's actually in my downloads, and I'll see it here. Windows 10 evaluation, the 90 Azure English Enterprise. So I'll click on this one. I'll do open, and it's loaded. So as I said yesterday, we open the tray of the computer, we put the CD, we close the tray. That's what happened now. Okay. Audio, we don't touch for now. When we use virtualization, especially this one, the free one, the audio, especially high resolution audio, high resolution video, gaming, stuff like that, you don't want to use virtualization for that, especially the free one, especially on weak computers, because it's always taking too much resources. It's better to be on a real hardware. I would say, the network we set for now, we have a lot of choices here, but we're gonna go through this when we start with our networking course, because for now we don't have too much choice. Something you need to mention, I show it in the other movie. When I click on the advanced arrow here and open it like this, something which is interesting here is this sequence of numbers. It says MAC address. That's the media access control. When we start doing the networking, we're gonna speak about the 7 layer of the iOS OSI model, Open System Interconnect model also called. And one of the layers there, the second layer, is the data link layer, and which is very, very important for the overall networking. And basically, the MAC address is the hardware address of our card, our network card. Well, in our case, we have 4 cards here: adapter 1, adapter 2, which is not enabled, same for 3, and same for 4. So we could introduce up to 4 cards if we want. And we said we could create a small router with this thing. We're going to speak about this in the next modules. But basically, this adapter has this hardware address. Now, there is a rule, kind of a rule. If you have 2 or more computers, or also called hosts, in the same network, we don't know what is the same network yet, but we're going to learn after. But you need to believe me now. So if they're in the same network, they're not supposed to have the same MAC address. Now, the MAC address itself, as you see, it's very long number. It's 12 digits, and it's not only digits actually. It's in hexadecimal. That means you start from 0 and you finish to F. So you start from 0 to 9, and afterwards you have A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's the hexadecimal. So it's much larger than, I would say not twice. It's logarithmic, but it's much larger than the decimal system which we use. So when you have 12 digits, 12 symbols like this, when you convert it to decimal, you're gonna see it's pretty large number. And the reason for this, well, the easiest way to see the largest one is to open the calculator like that. You write down calculator. The calculator itself has several modes. Okay, if I click here on this menu, you see how many modes there are. If I choose the programmer's calculator, and you see it has in hexadecimal, decimal, octal, and binary. So if I click hexadecimal, you see now A, B, C, D, E, F, they appear here. And if I do 12 Fs, okay, as you see, it's grouping it even by 3. You see in decimal, we get a pretty huge number. You see the number. I don't know how to pronounce it actually. Okay, it's pretty big number. So the idea of this one has been when a provider create a network card, doesn't matter which kind of network card, it's to be the MAC address to be unique forever, so never to be repeated. Well, for sure, screw-ups happen. You could find out in the market in your lifespan as a technician, so you're gonna find out duplicating ones. But in general, that's why they created the MAC address, so they took all the network cards and all the network equipment to be globally recognizable. Okay, very cool technology in virtualization, and I'll show you another one as well. So if it happens that you clone it and you forget to change the MAC address, well, both of them, they will have the same MAC address, hence they will be not able to connect to each other. So you just open this thing, you click on this arrow, and you change the MAC address, as I just did several times. Okay, easy like this. But it's important to know now, and I recorded it because you guys, if that happen ever, you to be able to resolve it. And we set the shared folder. If we would like to share the folder of our, it's an optional thing, but if I would like, let's say, to share my desktop of my real machines, of my real machine with the virtual machine, I need to click also auto mount, so the next time I reboot the virtual machine, it's automatically to be added. Remember, mount is, I'm opening my real machine to show you, I mount the network location of Tableau. Okay, that's a network location somewhere on the servers here in the school, which every time I start my computer is there into the network location sections. That will happen with the virtual machine every time when I click auto mount. Okay, it will be added every time when the virtual machine reboots there, and it will be looking in the same way like this one I just showed it to you. And I'll do OK. I'll do OK, and I'll do start. And my virtual machine installation will start. So monitor now the CPU. You see it's increasing, the memory increasing. I would see most probably the disk also increasing, the network performance increasing. Everything is normal because, a second machine actually starting with the same resources. That's why. And it's a good idea always to monitor them. Do not exceed, I would say 95 is already critical thing. Okay, you need to, if you get there, you need to decrease something on the machine, let's say. You could decrease the RAM, you could decrease the CPU, or you're not supposed to start 2 or 3. If you follow the lecture 2, you're gonna see the same screens, the screenshots of them, so I'm not gonna open it, I'm just gonna go through this. You click next on this, most of the time you accept the first default, and you click install. Now it's a proprietary software, which means you need to pay it. Now when you download it, you have 60 days to try it. Okay, so basically, I'm sorry, 90 days, you get 3 months, you have to try it. So you could click accept the license terms. You need to, otherwise you're not going to be able to proceed. Next. Now there are 2 choices. When we're talking to upgrade, that means you're upgrading something which is already there. Well, at the moment we don't have anything. It's a free disk. It's an empty disk, so we need just to do custom, install Windows. That's all. Okay? So we clicked on the custom thing. And then that's the 50 gigabyte we designated out of our real machine, which we said at the moment will be taken less. Okay? There are some other things we could do below, but for now we are not gonna go to them. And I'll click next. And basically the installation will start. It will take a little bit. After this, it will reboot the machine. I'll show it to you when it reboots. And then will be the moment you do not click on the button, which it will ask you, because as we mentioned, if you click, you're gonna do this until the end of the course. Okay? So basically after this, the machine will be almost done, and there will be something we to finalize. I want to show you guys, here it is, how it looks when it's almost done. Now it's installing the updates, and now it's finishing up. Okay, so it will reboot very soon, and you're gonna see the screen which I said specifically you're not supposed to click on. Now it's rebooting, guys. You see it's rebooting. I could click restart now myself and it will be easy. Now this is the screen what I was talking about. You don't click anything now. You just wait. In 5 seconds it will get, or in about 10 seconds it will start. Here it is. You don't do anything and the installation proceeds. If you click, the installation starts over again. Okay, that's what you need to remember. So my device is ready, so it will be starting very soon, and actually the last part of the installation will follow, which is pretty easy and quick too.
No?
So as you see, guys, now it's asking for the second time. You don't do anything. You wait for the second time, and now after the second reboot, the final settings will come. I'll put this here so you to know. If you ever need to shut down hardly the machine, the virtual machine, you click on the cross here in the corner. Okay, you click on the cross, and then you do power off the machine. That's what you need to do. And then you click OK. Now, in my case, I'm not gonna do it obviously because I'm waiting this to finish. But that's the way if you need to shut down the machine like this. Most of the time, the way you shut down the machine, I'm gonna show it on my real machine because the other one is not yet ready, but it's the same. You need to shut it down from here. Okay, that's the proper way of shutting down something. Shut down means you stop it completely. Reboot means it will go through shutdown and it will come back. Okay. Now, as you see, my next stage of installation, which is the last stage actually, is done. It's good practice to click on the button Use Express Settings here. Okay. Now that's the initial screen, which will show it to you that is setting up. Now, so it's starting. Well, this version of Windows is a little bit older, so you will realize if you download a new one, there are a little bit differences in the installation. It's fine, as I said, no problem. It's a learning process, constant one. Okay, so the Azure, what you see here, join Azure Active Directory. Well, the Active Directory is what you have here in your computers. When you need to put your username and your password, you see at the bottom it says ISIMTL, which is our domain, which is provided by Active Directory Domain Service server we have somewhere here in our school. Okay, so the Azure actually is the cloud of Microsoft. Whatever we've been talking yesterday for Amazon, for Google Cloud, well, Azure is the same thing for Microsoft. And they have integration of the Active Directory in Azure as well. That's why they call it like this. Well, we cannot join it because we don't have such. So the choice is to join a local Active Directory domain. That's what we're going to click. Okay? And then we're going to click on the next button. Now I need to pick up a username. You need to remember, guys, in any operating system, Windows, Unix, Linux, DOS, wherever, there is one user, at least one user, which is called a super user. In Linux and Unix, by default, and since the old times, it's called root user, R-O-O-T. So we have at least one super user. That's the boss of the system. That's the god. The guy has all the rights, everything. This guy, in any system, at least one, you might have unlimited, which is not a good idea. In Linux and Unix, most of the time, I showed it to you yesterday, Unix, Linux, they're together, and so on and so forth. When I say Unix-like, that means Unix and Linux together. So, in any Unix-like system, we call the user root, the super user, with small letters. Root. And in Windows, by default, it has been called administrator. Now, when we install Windows 2016, you're going to see this. By default, in the client's operating system of all of these guys, both by default are stopped. They are disabled. They're there, but they're disabled. So the system asking you to create your own. So you're going to create a super user, but you're going to create your own, not using this guy. It's still there. I'm going to show it to you after. But it's still there, but it's disabled. It's not active at the moment. So it's not active. So this guy is what is asking here. In my case, I'm going to choose my name. In your case, you choose, guys, whatever you want. It's a good idea to not start with letters, with digits. Use small letters. Don't do very long. Don't use empty spaces and stuff like that. Ascend, in my case, is perfect. You need to enter a password. Now, in the client system, you could enter short and not secure password, like I'm going to use now. But in server systems, it won't allow you. Remember what I told you the last time. In Windows, 8 letters, at least one capital, at least one digit. That will be asking you for the servers. Here, as you see, I could do whatever I want. And it's asking for password hint. Well, if you're going to be doing it secret, password hint is kind of creepy. So I'm going to do none. I don't want to provide the hint. I mean, it's not really a smart thing, at least for me. So I'll do next. As you can see, my installation has been done. When you see this thing, it's finding out our local network. Because of the NAT network, it's a good idea to click yes on what is asking you. Okay? You just click yes. Now, the first thing when you install on a VirtualBox something, a Windows machine, Linux machine, Unix machine, the first thing is to go to the devices on the top here and to install the guest edition image. The guest edition image is giving you additional features. Remember, I told you if I open the file manager now, I'm supposed to see my real computer's desktop attached. So if I click on this PC, on the network devices, I'm supposed to see it. Well, I don't see it. That's one of the reasons, because the guest edition, which is an additional feature, full feature which we need to install, is not installed yet. That's something you need to do always. All the virtualizations are doing this. So if you do the player of the VMware, the workstation, the KVM, any one of them will have something similar to this to do. Okay? So it's not particular only for the VirtualBox. Now, the other thing, you see that's my CD which I used here in the CD drive D, which I used to install the operating system. It's still there. There are two ways to remove it. The first way is to go to Machine, Settings, Storage. Here it is, the disk. You see it's still there. Click on it. Click on this small arrow and to say remove the disk from virtual drive. That's the first. But you see a lot of clicking. Basically what you could do, you could just go to the disk itself here, right click on it, and you do eject, as you could do with a real disk. It's a real disk. I mean, it's using real operating system, even though it's a virtual one. And it's out. We don't need it anymore there, because every time it will ask me to click on the button. If I click by mistake, it will start the installation again. So I removed it. As you see, the local disk is C is 40 gigabyte. Okay. Well, out of 40 gigabyte free out of 49, that means already 10 gigabytes has been taken. So if I check my file manager to see what's going on, here it is. Remember, it's in new volume, the VirtualBox VMSs, and that was the new group, Windows 10. You see now it's 10 gigabyte. That's because I installed the Windows 10 operating system. It's taking some time, some space. That's why, but it's still not 50, which is the good news, right? So basically, as well as I see that my CPU increased, the memory, it's not too much, and the hard drive is okay as well. So just the GPU, the GPU, the graphical processor is a little bit, it's just a little bit more than before. So basically, I could install another one, and I could connect them, and I could work with the three of them, and it will be okay, I guess. So any questions up to here? Okay, so we're gonna install the guest edition. That's the first thing, guys, you need to do. Another thing you're gonna recognize is not installed. If I resize my virtual machine, you see it doesn't resize with the, whatever I do, it doesn't resize itself, it doesn't fill it. Well, that's the clear indication the guest edition has been installed. So I'll click insert guest edition. Notice it will be, you see now it's loaded as here. Okay, and it's asking me, prompting me to do something. I'll click on it. And it says run VirtualBox Windows Edition. It's like a CD which I'm entering, and when I click, automatically it will install some additional features to my VirtualBox. That's what the guest edition is. Now, a user account control. If I would like to stop it, when I see a message like this and it says on the top user account control, by the way, it's not a good idea to stop it in production when you start working. Here, you don't want every time you would like to install something to bothers you. You click here, change when this notification appear. Okay, you see the scroller. It says here, always notify or never notify. Well, you just drag it to the bottom, which says not recommended, obviously. You click OK, and this will be the last time you see this message. You just click yes, and from now on, wherever you're gonna install, no problem at all. It won't be prompting you anymore. Click on this twice now, and just follow the thing. Next, install. Okay. When you're prompted to allow something to be installed, because we know it's good thing, we could click install, and it's check always this checkbox where it says always trust software from Oracle Corporation, because it might be several like this, and if you uncheck this one, every time it will appear and you need to click several times. So in that case, I just click once install, and it will finish the installation of the software. Now, once it's installed, it will prompt me to reboot the machine, which I need to do right away. Okay, that's very important to be done, otherwise it won't take place. In Windows or in Linux when you do it, because you need to do the same in Linux when it's a graphical interface. Okay, so when you do it in Linux, or while you're doing it on Linux, it might need you guys to read a little bit more, because Linux is a different system, and maybe there are some additional rules you need to obey, and you need to be, you need to do something with. So on the Linux installation, on the VirtualBox Guest Edition is a little bit trickier sometimes. So when we're prompted to reboot, we just click Finish, and we're rebooting. Okay, we're back. Now I could click here on the input keyboard, insert Control Delete. Now notice it says host plus del, and if you see a little bit on the bottom right corner, it says write control. That means the host, or the host key for the VirtualBox. Here it is. It says host plus del. The host key is the write control. So instead of doing this, if I just click inside the machine, and if I do write control and delete, well, because I did already the other thing, it will do this now for me. Okay, but because I click on this, that's why it's already there. Now, it's prompting me for my for my password, so I'm going to use my password, and I'm going to log into my new created machine with the guest edition already there. And I'm back. Now, notice something in the corner. It says Windows 10 Enterprise Evaluation. Okay, it's good for 90 days. Okay, it says what is the build number, 10,240. That's important when you're going to install some features. We're going to see this later. As well as it says the Windows license is valid for 90 days. Well, that's because it's an evaluation of the product. What I did, actually, I went to the site of Microsoft. I opened the Google and I write down like this: download Windows 10 evaluation Microsoft. And basically, it's sending me to Microsoft Evaluation Center. I clicked on it. That's the second one. And you see, it says start your evaluation, and it says it's good for 90 days. ISO, I could install another ISO. And when I click continue, well, by the way, you see there are more, okay, which I could install and try. I'll click continue. I need to put the first name, last name, company name, which I actually invented. It's not the real one. I don't have a company. Company size, I've chosen one. The job title, student or whatever. For work email, I put it my existing Hotmail address. I think Gmail address will work as well. You could put a fictitious one, but after the @ it's supposed to be something valuable like hotmail.com, gmail.com, yahoo.com, something which is real. And the country, well, the work phone, you could use, you see I'm using something fictitious as well. And the country, you could choose whatever you want, but Canada, we are in Canada, no problem. Anyway, they're using this information for purposes of their advertisement, and to know how many users and from where. That's for their purposes. Then when you click continue, the download will start, and you're gonna have the ISO image which I provided you with. That's the way you have it with the evaluation directly from the Microsoft. For the servers, you have 180 days, which is 6 months. Okay, so for 6 months we could practice. I'm gonna show it to you how you could enlarge this further, how you could do it 3 times more, every one of these ones. Okay, so once that's done, what I could do, actually let me show you now that that how I recognize the guest edition has been installed. I'm just gonna resize it. I'm gonna resize it. Okay. And as you see now, it's resizing with my, whatever I'm doing, it's resizing it. You see? It's resizing with my mouse. Okay. As well as when I click on this thing on the File Explorer here. Okay. And when I go to this PC, well, now I'm seeing my desktop of my real machine here. Okay. So if I click here, basically what I'm seeing these guys here on my desktop, and I could copy and paste them. If I would like this file, which is on my real computer, this file, that's a phone number actually which I'm using here. If I would like this file to be added, to be copied from my real machine to my virtual machine, basically I just go here, I find the file, here's the file, copy, and just do paste on my virtual machine's desktop, boop, and it's there. The other way, as we said, we just drag and drop it. Oh, well, it says replace the file because it's already there, right? So I'm gonna say, well, I could even compare the both files, and I could say, okay, I want both of them, so choose both of them, continue, and now I'm gonna have the second one, you see? I have the first and the second one. And I could do right click, I could do copy, and I could come here inside, right click and do, well, paste is not active, but I could do Control C, I guess. If I go here, Control C, if I do Control V, it doesn't work, but it's when we've chosen, if you remember, on the machine, on the settings, on the system, sorry, on the general, advanced, bidirectional, that was it was. And when we've chosen the shared folder, well, that's the shared folder which I access initially from my real computer. Okay, so you see it's very useful. You could copy and paste files back and forth from your real and virtual machine very easily. Further, I'll show you more ways to do this. We'll finish this presentation and this movie with something which I do believe is very important. Once this machine is created, you know, it doesn't take too much time, you see, but if it's taking some time. Now, the first thing to protect the state of this machine is something which is known here in VirtualBox, and not only in VirtualBox, in the virtualization, is something which is known as a shadow copy. In VirtualBox, actually, they call it snapshot. So that's my machine. You see on the VirtualBox manager or the hypervisor, I see my virtual machine. This green arrow shows me that is running. This small menu here, if I click on it, details is the menu which I am at the moment. It shows me some general options, what about the system, displays, and so on and so forth. All of these things which we see when we click the settings. As well as you see, I see the system of a small preview of the machine. So if I open something here, and if I go back, you see I'm seeing it as a preview. And the beauty of this is when I have a group, actually, let's say this group, when I have 4 of them. So if I click on this one, you see I could see the 4 of them next by, I mean, I could see some small stuff. And if I need to go somewhere directly, I could go and I could see what it is. So in virtualization, it's very nice thing. It's organized like that. Now, so when I go to this machine, and then I click again on this menu, and then go to snapshots. Okay, when I click on the snapshots on the right side, it will change. Now, you see it says current state. That is what the machine it is at the moment. That's the file. That's the file. Remember, this machine is a file, and this is this file. Okay, this is the state of the machine on the 6th of June, 3 p.m. and 11 minutes, and I don't know how many seconds. Maybe you know the seconds and the seconds at the moment. So if I say to this now, make a snapshot of this machine. It's like you're making a real picture. You know, you do a picture, and wherever was up to this moment, it's conserved. It's forever. It's preserved. So let's do it. You see, even the icon for taking a snapshot is like a camera. So when I click on this one, I could change the name of the snapshot. I could do a snapshot description. I would say Windows 10 installed. It's Enterprise, if you remember. Enterprise, and it was a 64-bit edition. So it's a good idea to remember what it is. And afterwards, I could say plus guest edition, because we just installed the guest edition. So it's installed, and we have the guest edition. And when I click OK, well, in this very moment, the state of the machine has been preserved. And what I'm seeing now on the current state, it is everything up to this moment. So imagine I reboot the machine, and afterwards I see something which is say, you know, your machine has been broken. You cannot access it anymore. Well, what I do, it's very simple. I go here, I go to the snapshot, and I go restore. I cannot restore it at the moment because the machine is on. It's supposed to be shut down. So I just go do restore, and I will revert everything to the moment when I click snapshot. And I could do as many snapshots as I could want. And I could do now a separate snapshot, either from this stage, which we'll do next one, or I could do again from the first snapshot. You see, it's very, very flexible. Okay? And I see the description, so I know which one is what. Okay? So this is very, very useful thing. We're using it a lot because, you know, it's a virtualization, it's free thing, and from time to time it's giving you errors. Instead of having half an hour, 1 hour installing it again, you just go there, click once, and boom, it's back. That's one thing. I need to shut down the machine to show the next one. So I'm gonna click, that's the normal way while you're shutting down a Windows machine, client or server. You go to power and you powered it off. It says shut down or restart to restart it. Now, notice here at the top there is a small avatar which says my name. So when I click here, that's the user which is accessing the system at the moment. So when I click on this one, it says change account settings if I would like to change something, lock, which means I'm gonna lock the computer and only me I'm gonna use it, or sign out. Well, the signing out, I just gonna log off the recent user and it will wait for another user eventually or the same user to relog. Okay, but the computer will be on. And the shutdown will shut down completely the system. So basically I need to click on the power and I'm gonna shut down. Once the machine has been shut down, you see now all the icons, most of the icons are available. If I click on this, restore is available. I could delete also the snapshot if I want. This small ship here is interesting, which says clone, because the first thing what they cloned was a ship actually. I don't remember the name. If you Google it, you're gonna see. So if I go to the current state, what I could do, I could create a completely new machine just cloning the other one, like the guys clone the ship. So actually I just go there. I could go to the snapshot as well, but it's for me it's important to clone everything what I'm having at the moment. So I just go to the current state, I'll click clone, and then I'm going to be provided with almost the same wizard which I had before. Now it could be a guided mode like this. I always choose the expert mode, which is less clicking, but for you guys it's the same, just less clicking. Again, the same rule. You cannot have the same names here. I mean, now I'm creating clone. The next time when I open it to do another one, it will say again clone, and if I click clone, it will say no, you need to change the name. So be sure here you have whatever name you want, but you don't duplicate it, okay? And the path, I could change the path if I want here. Now full clone means everything, snapshots, everything will be cloned. Link clone means only the current state will be cloned. So you're gonna see it, it's very fast. I don't use this because it's not good. It's giving lots of bugs. Full clone is always. Snapshots, we have already snapshots. It's a good idea to say everything. MAC address policy. I'll click this, and as I mentioned you, I need to have a different MAC address for every machine which I'm gonna generate. So if I forget this, I showed it to you how to do it, but for me it's good to click get generate new MAC address, and I'm done. When I click clone, sometimes it might show you hours. Don't get confused, it's not hours, it's about 10-15 minutes max, and you have a new complete machine. Easy like this, and you start using it. Now